Hello there, and welcome to another great video game ideas not used podcast, GVGINU for short. As always, I am Andre, and this is GVGINU Redo number 2. Wow, don't try saying that 3 times fast. This one is about a game that I grew up loving by the name of Actraiser. Actually, there were 2 games in the series, but I really enjoyed the first a lot more than I enjoyed the second one. So I personally believe that this series needs a reboot. For those who may not have had the chance to experience the game, it originally came out on the Super NES or Super Famicom, depending on where you lived at the time, I would say. It was honestly a really good game. The action in it was, at the time, very beautiful and brightly colored, and it stood out. And the game was it wasn't, I could say you could call it an action RPG because it had RPG elements within it, but it also had simulation elements in it as well as action elements. And it was a very unique and creative game for the time that it was created, which is why I feel that the series could use a reboot in the modern era. I keep clearing my throat. I'll talk about the various things that make up Actraiser and what I liked about it. The first thing is the God or Angel mode. Depending on what localization you had, that would be more or less what you would refer to it as. I got tongue-tied. In Japan, in Actraiser, you were actually God, like you were the creator of this world, but that the characters and the people that you were protecting were in. In the American localization, due to religious faiths and beliefs, the character was turned to be an angel, like an ambassador angel. If I remember correctly, I can't say right off the top of my head that I know exactly who, but I strongly remembering that it was that you are an angel. And in the God mode, you could do various things that would benefit the people who you were trying to protect and that who believed in you. So basically it turned into, that was where the simulation and the RPG aspect of the game really stood out, because as you created people and you made their homes and protected them and saved them from these various creatures, you would gain more power, more experience by protecting them, which translated over into the action portion of the game where you played, where you actually fought on ground and destroyed and fought demons and things of that nature. And the action in it was more like an action platforming, but it was 2D, and it was like I said, it was amazing for the time. It was one of those games that you could, even now, if you picked it up and you actually played it, and I have Actraiser, and I love that game. I will always love that game. There is nothing that will stop me from loving that game. But it's just one of those things that you could go back, you can feel very nostalgic playing that game. And as a person that would love to see this game redone, I mean, not even necessarily redone the way it was. I mean, yes, keep the modes that it had, but it doesn't have to be the exact same game. At least not in my eyes. With the way that it would be an amazing thing to be able to just build your own world in Actraiser and protect people and have various outcomes from different actions. Whereas the SNES game was actually very linear. There was a path that you pretty much had to take with a few optional things that you could do. This generation is more or less, yes, we have a linear path that you can follow, but there are so many other things that you can put your hands on and actually do that Actraiser would do really well in this climate and with it being rebooted and recreated. Now, I don't know if talk has been done about this, but in my mind, it would be great. And here's how I suggest it be done. Personally, how I think the game would be best suited to be played. Now, I'll start off with the God mode, the world creation mode as it is. Sorry, I had to crack my knuckles there. But how I see it, I think that the creation of the God mode itself, it should be done in a 3D perspective. It can't be an overhead 2D game like it was for the SNES. At that time, that was what worked for it, and that was really the only thing that could be done to present the world the way that the creators wanted it to be, or as close as to what they wanted it to be. So now they could actually do a fully 3D Earth model and have you actually build the landscapes and create and manage the Earth the way that you wish it to be, meaning that everyone could create their own original Earth and protect their own people and save their lives and things of that nature. I mean, it's something that's really creative and imaginative, and I mean, in my mind, I would love to see that be able to be done. Like being able to create miracles for the people for praying to you, or being able to go to give them water during a season of drought when they need it to refresh their crops and things like that. And you could actually do that in the Super Nintendo game. And using that mode to actually build up your experience and be able to enhance your abilities when you are playing in the action portion of the game. But with a more modern game, being able to select what attributes you wish to change and enhance, both for playing in the God mode and creating the world, as well as in the the action portion. Now, as a lover of 2D side-scrolling games and platformers of that nature, I do think that the action portion of the game should remain in a 2D form, just in an HD scale with updated graphics and artwork to match the styling that suits what actually happens with the 3D game, the 3D portion of the game that is in the God mode, the God world mode, whatever you want to call it. When I say that, I mean, and I didn't even fully explain how I thought out that mode too, but changes that you make in the God mode should actually affect the way the layout of stages appear in the 2D side-scrolling action portion. Literally, meaning that if you make certain land masses and things like, say you put a volcano near a stream, then that should have an effect on how a stage is played, especially if the stage is a water level and your volcano happens to erupt. And it should also change how some of the map designs of the stage sit, so that way you could play the game several times and probably not end up with the same exact map too many times. There would have to be a limited number of changes that each map could take, but if it's done right, you probably wouldn't notice on a number of different playthroughs. And back down to the action portion. Now, taking the cue from Actraiser 2, which I like that game, I just didn't like it as much as the first one because of the removal of the creation and the creation mode and everything like that. But incorporate magic and abilities of metaphysical abilities that allow your character in this physical form, this human-esque form, to be able to perform these things to enhance their attacks and abilities while you play. I know that sounds so weird coming out like that, but it's just that I have a bunch of jumbled up thoughts I'm trying to work out, and they're just all slipping out at the same time. But I would love to do like some gameplay footage just to show, not even going very deeply into the game, just to show that okay, this is what I meant. But I might do that another time. Anyhow, back on track. Now, Actraiser had these spectacular boss fights, like these amazingly fun and challenging boss fights. Not so challenging that you couldn't beat them, but challenging enough that you couldn't just stand there and wail on an enemy and think that oh well, that's the game, this is game over. No, it didn't happen that way. You actually had to think about how you would take these bosses on and how you would fight them. And it made it worth playing the game. It made it worth like saving the people and accepting their prayers and giving them miracles in order to be able to take on these demons and these underlords that were trying to corrupt the earth that you were trying to create and build. And like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the way the game was represented and the way it was played. Unfortunately, due to localization, we missed out on a few bits of story that I wish I would have known about before when I was younger, but there's not much I can do about that now. But with the way the world is at the moment, it would be more beneficial to say, hey, we've got these things. And I would really enjoy just being able to play the game the way it should have been before anyhow. So that's how I see that it should be. I think that playing the game and actually experiencing it would say more to people than me just talking about it. So right now, go ahead and look up a video of just some of the things from the original Actraiser if you have never seen it. It's an amazing game, and I honestly think it should get more. It should be revived and brought back. So that's just my major point. If we could get creators and developers to sit down and think things like this out. That is a pool of many things that could be done because of the fact that Actraiser was so heavily based on mythology and things of that nature, and it was so interesting. And I can't say factual, but I can say that was very much true to folklore that we already know about. So that's why I would prefer that they bring that series back. Start it fresh, start it new, but bring it back. Give us something worth playing. Give us something that we can sit down and say, oh, I enjoyed that. I love that game. I'm a diehard fan of that, like we used to get back in the day. And I would prefer, even though I know this isn't going to be a popular opinion, that this game stay exclusive to Nintendo. It was exclusive to them before. It should stay that way. Just because they were the ones that had this game, this amazingly beautiful game on their platform. It should stay with Nintendo as an exclusive. I mean, I don't know how Square would feel about that, but that's how I personally feel. And that isn't about being a Nintendo fanboy or anything like that, like people might think. That's because I am definitely not that. It's just that that's how I feel it should be. And plus, with the Wii U, it might be able to do a few things with the tablet that you can't just normally do with another console. But then again, if it is multi-platform, more people will be able to play it. But like I said, it's just a personal feeling because that was how it was before. It's not like I'm saying, oh, it has to be that way. It's just how I feel it should be. Hate me for it if you want, but that's just an opinion. But I do thank you for taking your time and sitting and listening to me ramble on as much as I love that game. And like I said, if I'm a fan of anything, I'm going to be a fan of the game rather than the company. I'm going to be a fan of the game itself. If the game is worth it, I am going to be a fan of the game. And I am definitely an Actraiser fan. Heck, if I could get my hands on the licensing for that game, I would definitely make it into the most spectacular thing that I could imagine with it. But I'm just getting so overzealous about it. But thank you again for listening to me for my rambling. I will be putting together another GVGINU redo very soon. May not be tomorrow, but it will be soon. And I am hopeful that you were happy and a bit entertained by my weird way of talking. So hopefully it's a win-win. If you truly enjoy these, please subscribe and comment if you are on YouTube. SoundCloud, please like it so that I know that people are listening and that they are interested. It does me more good to know that people are interested and they want to share their points of view and talk about things. But yes, I am done so far with that. YouTube listeners, the link will be in the description below to the original article that this game went to. SoundCloud users, again, because I know I can't really do this on SoundCloud, I'm telling you directly, Great Video Game Ideas Not Used article number 5, which was actually my first throwback edition for video games. And then after that, I had done this like really short roll of like how I think video game radio should be public, like public radio. But that's another tale for another time. I'm not doing that right this moment anyhow. Again, thank you very much for listening in. And if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. And hopefully you'll be keeping your eyes out for more of my stuff. So until